Welcome to Quantum Revenue Expansion, where we share time-tested strategies to turn your annual revenue into your monthly revenue. Ready to up-level your business and your life? Then you will love listening in on the lively conversations Ursula has with her clients and guests as they share exactly what they did to grow and scale their business exponentially. Plus, you will discover how to experience more freedom, joy, and peace in your business and your life right now. If turning your annual income into your monthly income is your next step, then join us at the next 2X Intensive. Go to ursulainc.co/apply.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Quantum Revenue Expansion, the podcast where we talk about how to turn your monthly income into your annual income. Super excited to hang out with you today as we roll into the end of the year. I don't know about you, but it certainly feels like time has flown, and here we are as we're looking straight into the face of next year. And I'm excited about that. And so before this year is over, though, here's the truth. There's still time to sell. And in fact, a lot of our clients they double down this time of year because we've encouraged them to double down because the holidays is a great time to be selling. So today we're going to talk about the 7 sales blocks that might be keeping you stuck in scarcity. And I'm going to share some things that you can do to shift out of that and really how you can make this time of year, this like end of the year, your best time to be selling. Before we do that, though, a couple reminders. If you haven't made it to my homepage, you can go to ursulainc.co. And on the homepage, you'll find Quantum Revenue Expansion, the masterclass. It pairs really nicely with the podcast. And in that course, it's 3 parts. We talk about first, how to create your brand new revenue container to turn your turn your annual income into your monthly income. We talk about how to up-level your prices, your packages, and your marketing. And third, how to how to collapse time and reach your goals even faster. And that's by leveraging teams, systems, and processes. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, definitely go there, get the course for yourself, treat yourself, because it will help you set yourself up for a phenomenal next year. All right, with that, let's jump into the content. And I want to swim around in this because selling matters, and selling is often the thing that gets added to the bottom of our list on a daily basis, right? It's sort of the last thing. It's like, oh, I know I need to follow up with someone. I know I need to make that sales call. I know I need to call that referral partner. And then somehow it's kind of like, ooh, it's at the bottom of my list. So I want selling to be at the top of your list. I want selling to be the thing you're most excited about in your business because it grows your revenue, it moves your company forward, it allows you to make a big impact on the world. And when it's at the bottom of your list, it's really hard to do that. So sales block number 1. So we're going to go through 7 sales blocks, and I invite you to have a piece of paper out and a pen or a journal to take some notes. Sales block number 1 is you have an unworthy sales goal. Meaning that your sales goal isn't worthy of you and all the goodness, the greatness, the yumminess, the amazingness that you bring to the world. In other words, you're probably thinking too small. And, at this time of year, it's such a great time to just evaluate where you are in your annual revenue and where you want to be next year. And people who show up in our world, like who listen to the podcast or end up coming to one of our courses, you're showing up because it's time to 2x your sales. It's time for a double. For some of you, it's a 10x. You just know you're being called to more, but you feel stuck or something just feels off. I was talking with someone recently, and they've made so many changes in their business since COVID, but the revenue hasn't quite gotten to where they want to be. So there's feeling stuck. And truly, they haven't chosen a sales goal that's really, I think, worthy of what puts them on the planet and what they're here for. And so take a moment to just think about that. How much revenue, and probably write this down, how much revenue did you bring in or are you going to bring in this 2022? And are you where you want to be? Are you frustrated with your revenue? Do you wish it was more? Is there something you wish you could change about it, right? Like where you're ending up. And then knowing that, what's your stretch goal, your revenue goal for 2023? What's a goal that's truly in alignment with who you are and the work you're meant to do on the planet? And I want you to write that number down. And hopefully it's a minimum of a double. Now, what's interesting is when you write your sales numbers down and you write your double and you really look at it, right? Then you're giving yourself the space to actually get there. And we call that a quantum revenue container. And what I mean is most people, like, they have a goal, they think, oh, it'd be great to hit X number, but they never really commit to it. They never really put it on paper. They don't build projections around it, right? They're just kind of putting it out, kind of like thinking about it, but not writing it down. When you write it down, it begins to give life and it creates the space for it to show up. I'm a big believer in the power of writing things down. In fact, statistically, you are 99% more likely to achieve any goal simply by writing it down. So this is your opportunity to write this number down and just look at it, right? Like, why do you want to get this number? How will it impact your life? What will be different for you? What will be better for you? Let's think about that. So first, you want a sales goal that's worthy of you, and you want to make sure you write that number down. Sales block number 2, you don't want to be perceived as being pushy or salesy. Can anyone relate to that? Oh my gosh. I remember when I first started out in sales, like that was my biggest fear. Is I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to think I'm such a pushy IT sales professional, like an IT salesperson, excuse me. I was selling IT training and consulting. I was making cold calls, and that was my fear. Don't perceive me as being pushy or too salesy, right? I want them to like me. A lot of people like us in the sales profession, we want to be liked, right? Or business owners, we want to be liked. And when we feel like we're not being liked, or we feel like we're being rejected, that's really tough, right? And so I feel you on this. But here's the thing. It's not the full truth. Because if you're watching this, or if you're listening to this podcast, it's really likely that you're not pushy. It's really likely that even if you ask that question or you think about it, you're probably not a pushy salesperson. You're just not. You care about your clients. You care about making a difference. You care about solving problems. And so I get you don't want to be perceived as being pushy. So it's important to ask yourself, what's not true about that? What's not true about me being perceived as being a pushy salesperson? And that's when that particular sales block and that belief can start to fall away, because the truth is you're just not. In fact, most of our clients are professionally persistent problem solvers. And you might want to write that down. Like when you let go of this belief and this fear that you're going to be perceived as being pushy, and you move over to, I am a professionally persistent problem solver, all of a sudden fear goes away. The stress of making the call goes away. Like you're just making the call to see if you can help. You're coming from that place of like, I'm just here to solve problems and meet needs. And if I can, great. And if I can't, that's okay too. So no, you don't want to be perceived as being pushy. I get that, but you're not. 2 of the most powerful words in the English language are I am, because anything you say after that, your subconscious mind believes. So when you say, I am a professionally persistent problem solver for my clients, your brain gets to take that on. You get to like step into that. So I want to encourage you to just take this new belief on. I am a professionally persistent problem solver. And every time you pick up the phone, I want you to call from that perspective, call from that belief, call from that knowing. All right. Sales block number 3, you're missing your why. Or you've forgotten about your why, or maybe you haven't even thought about your why, but your why is the reason you do this. Your why is the reason that you are here on the planet. Your why is what's in your heart. That's your true heart's desire. Your why is how you make a difference in the world and how you make an impact. That's your why. Why do you care about selling this product or service? Why did you start your company in the first place? When you know your why becomes bigger than your fear of rejection. When you know your why, it moves you out of the way, right? When you know your why, you're not worried about you. You're not worried about you. You're focused on the person you're here to serve. Years ago, I remember I had a deep fear of public speaking, deeper than any fear of selling I'd ever had. Like selling was one-on-one, but standing in front of a group of people was so stressful. And one day, one of my mentors said to me, you know, Ursula, you have a choice. I said, oh, great. What's my choice? And he said, you can be afraid of stepping on a stage and being embarrassed or being rejected or saying the wrong thing, or that you recognize that this isn't about you being on a stage, you speaking from the stage. It's not about you. It's about the people that you're here to serve. And I want you to focus on that one person. Like when you get on that stage, look out there and find that one person who really needs to hear your message, and focus on that one person. Now, what's interesting is over time, I've learned that I haven't always been right about the one person. If you've spoken from stage, you know what I'm talking about. Like sometimes there's people who literally look like they're sleeping, and legit might be, because sometimes information that you're sharing from the stage can be really overwhelming, can be too much. And also you see them like nod off. And I used to think that those people who were sleeping through my presentation didn't care about what I had to say. And then later I found out they were just overwhelmed. Like the information hit them at such a deep level. Those were always the people who came up and talked to me afterwards and just told me like this, whatever I'd shared, like had touched their heart or made a difference in their business or their lives. And I'd be thinking like, well, you slept through the whole thing. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They just got a little overwhelmed. Now, it's not to say that some people didn't sleep through my presentations. I'm sure there were a few that were legit like sleeping and were tired. But a lot of times those are the people that came up afterwards and said, you know, you got me right here. And so over time, I shifted who my one person was. Sometimes it's a person who like immediately was like, looked like they were out, and guarantee it, they would come up to me afterwards and say, hey, this was so profound for me for whatever reason. Knowing your why and remembering it's not about you is so important and so critical for you to be graceful and easeful during the sales process. All right, sales block number 4. Sales block number 4 is you have a financial set point. Now, we all have a financial set point, and it sounds like a terrible thing, but it's not. So your financial set point is the number that you're kind of stuck at, or it's the number in your business that you keep coming back to. So maybe it's 10,000 a month. Like no matter what you do, you can't get past 10,000 a month. Maybe it's 20,000, maybe it's 100,000. Over time, as you break through a next level, you might have another set point where you're getting stuck. So what's important is to acknowledge the set point, really acknowledge it, and just ask yourself like, you know, what do I believe about money? What do I believe about making more money? What do I believe about making a lot of money, right? Because we all have beliefs. As much as we have set points, we also all have limiting beliefs about money and what we're willing to allow in. And often we're not conscious of those limiting beliefs. But the fastest way to figure out what your limiting belief is about money is to set a big financial goal for yourself and then ask yourself, what's the story I'm telling myself about why I can't have it? And immediately stuff will start to pop up. And that's an opportunity for you to shift those beliefs. Now, my hack for shifting beliefs is 3 parts. So let's say you wanted 2x your sales, okay? You're at 250, you want to be at 500,000 in annual revenue, all right? So set that new goal for yourself, write it down, 500,000 or whatever your number is, 500,000. And then ask yourself, what's the story I tell myself about why I can't have a $500,000 business? What's the story? And just write the story down. So the story might be, the story could be things, and these were things that I told myself when I went from 250 to 500,000 in annual revenue. The story was, I'm going to have to work even harder than I'm working now. I'm going to have to work all the time. I won't be present for my family. Like I had a whole lot of story. And I'm sure if you're a woman, you can relate to this. Probably guys can even relate to that too, right? That my life is going to change drastically at that next level in terms of how hard I'm working or how much I'm working, and I don't want that. And so then once you have that, the second part is to ask yourself what's not true about that limiting belief. So what's not true about when I go to 500,000, I'm going to work all the time? Well, what's not true about it as the team that I'm going to have at 500,000 is not the team that I'm going to have at 250,000. The team that I'm going to have at 500,000 is definitely going to be able to support me at the highest level, support my company at the highest level. They're going to help me put systems and processes in place. And guess what? I actually am going to work less at 500,000 than I did at 250,000. So what you're doing is you're peeling that limiting belief away, and you're like, here's what's not true about it. It's not true. I'm taking on a new belief. And that new belief, right? That new achieving belief is the belief that will give you the momentum that you're looking for. And that new belief could be something like, I am so happy and grateful now that we easily allow in $44,000 per month and I only work 22 hours a week, right? That could be your new achieving belief, your new power sentence. If you want to supercharge that sentence and really start to get it into your subconscious mind, write it down 20 times a day. Every morning, write it down 20 times, 20 times, 20 times. Do it for 30 days and allow that new belief into your subconscious and watch what starts to happen around you. Things will begin to shift. All right, moving on. Sales block number 5, the wrong clients. Ooh. Now, there really are no quote unquote wrong clients, but not ideal clients, right? And you deserve to work with ideal clients. You deserve to work with those clients who really light you up. You deserve all of that and more. And over the years, I've noticed with the thousands of different clients that I've worked with in training situations and coaching situations, is there's a reluctance to say yes to ideal clients. Like there's this reluctance to say, yes, I deserve to work with this ideal client. And that reluctance comes from this belief that there's not enough. So underneath that resistance, the thought is, oh my gosh, if I start to say no to certain clients who I deem as wrong or not a fit, my business is going to shrink. When the opposite could actually be true. What if you said, I'm willing to say no to those clients who aren't a good fit to make room for the ideal clients who I really want to work with? Writing a list of the attributes and characteristics of your ideal clients can be really powerful to really narrow in on the who. And who are they? Where do they hang out? How much money do they make? What's the problem that you solve for them, right? Like start to dig into who your ideal client really is, who that top 20% is, because here's the truth. When you say no in a loving manner and you refer them to somebody else, to a client who's not a good fit for you, I guarantee you that as long as you stick with it and you focus on the clients you really want to work with, they're out there. They're waiting for you. They'll say yes to you. But if you have an ounce of doubt of like, well, I should keep working with this other client, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And so I invite you to step into the world of your ideal clients. Make a list of their attributes, make a list of where they hang out, get to know them, right? Because you want to be in alignment with them. And also your ideal clients will also share your values. There'll be a values alignment. And you know this because you don't buy products or services that aren't in alignment with your values. Or if you do, you're upset about it later, or you find out something later that's not in alignment. And so your ideal clients are also aligned with values. They're aligned with where they hang out. Probably there's a lot of alignment with your ideal clients. So stretch yourself, be really clear on those ideal clients or customers that you want to work with. Sales block number 6. We have what I call a lack of appointments and follow-ups, a lack of pipeline. Now, I get that this can be a little bit triggering and a little bit challenging. But I want to invite you to really dig into the numbers. So if your sales goal, I'm just going to use easy math, is $10,000 a month, and your average sales $1,000, and your closing ratio is 50%, that means that you need 10 new clients a month, but you need 20 new appointments per month to get to your 10 if you close half, right? Now, I don't know what your closing ratio is. I'm using 50% for easy math. The only way you would know is if you tracked all of your prospects to sales, right? All of your conversions. But let's just play with 50% for a moment, because what you want to do is you want to get crystal clear on your sales formula. How many leads do you need to have coming in? How many sales do you need to convert to get there? Like, what is that process that, what is that formula that you need to have in place to know what you need to do to get there? And knowing your formula and really taking the time to work the math out is what allows you to then reverse engineer into your marketing plan. Because when you know exactly how many leads you need, that makes it a lot easier, right? That makes it a lot simpler. So know your numbers, know your unique formula, because I guarantee you, when you know your unique sales formula, again, everything stems from that monthly revenue goal, and you can work backwards from that end result to get there. Sales block number 7. You forget, in quotes, for those of you who are on the treadmill right now, you forget to ask for the money. In other words, the sale doesn't get closed. This is an epidemic, and I'm going to share a tip with you that might blow your mind. Seems obvious, but it's a tip that saves companies or brings companies millions of dollars. And when they don't follow this tip, they definitely lose millions of dollars. So here's the thing. When you're in a sales conversation, so if you're on, if you're selling digitally or if you're selling online, this is different. But for those of you who are in service-based businesses or product-based businesses, where you're actually talking to a customer, a client, a patient, right? There's 3 things that can happen in the sales process at the end. Either you get a clear yes, I'm buying this, I'm in, here's my payment information. You get a clear no, it's not a fit. It's not an objection, right? You're not handling an objection. You're getting a clear no, which tells you that, like, this is no, they're not a fit, and we're going to refer them to someone else, or they found someone else. That's fine. Or the third option is a next step on the calendar, a clear yes, a clear no, or a next step on the calendar. Without that next step on the calendar, millions of dollars are lost. And that is my tip for you. So if you're in a sales conversation and it seems like it's going well, but you haven't gotten a clear yes, you haven't gotten a clear no because they're not a no. In fact, they said, you know what? I need to talk to so-and-so, or I need to review my finances to figure out how to pay for this. Like, they want it, but they're like, they got to figure something out. In that moment, you simply want to ask them when they're going to figure that out. When are they going to get that question answered? Typically, it's not a 2 to 3 week thing. It's like tomorrow. Or you could even phrase the question at something like this. You could say, do you think you're going to be able to get the answer to that question today or tomorrow? Like, just lock it down into this small window. And they might say, you know what? Probably tomorrow morning. Oh, great. Okay. So what time do you think you'll be able to have this conversation? They might say, oh, probably around 10 a.m. Okay, great. Well, let's do this. Let's put an 11 a.m. call on our calendar for tomorrow, because that way you'll have had the conversation, you'll know what the answer is, and then we can talk and we'll figure out next steps. 9 times out of 10, I would say 90% of the time, they'll say, yeah, that sounds great, because they do want to buy your product or service. They're not stalling. They really do have a question, or they need to get something figured out. So we're getting that next appointment on the calendar. This one tip, let me tell you, this one tip could bring in, like, this one tip for some people would double their sales. I was working with a sales team years ago, and they weren't doing this. And we created a new script for them, a new follow-up script, so that they could go back, and so that if this happened, they knew what to say. They knew to get an appointment on the calendar. And I'm telling you, with this new process in their sales conversation, they closed thousands and thousands more dollars than they did before. And they started tracking it. They couldn't believe that this one thing made such a difference. So whether you're a startup or you've been in business for 20 years, and either you're the salesperson or you have a sales team, just make sure that this is part of your sales process, that you get a clear yes, a clear no, or a next step on the calendar. One of those three things, so that you know whether or not you've served the client at the highest level. Because again, until we get a yes and no or a next step on the calendar, in my opinion, we haven't served the client. We haven't really helped them, right? They're still they're in limbo. And so you want to respect that relationship, and because that is gold. When you have a prospect, that is a golden relationship. They're giving you the opportunity to help them. And so you want a yes, a no, or a next step on the calendar. All right. Well, I hope you took lots of notes, and that these sales blocks are tip. I've included tips that you can include. I've included tips that you can use immediately in your business. And just as a reminder, we'll go through the 7 sales blocks again, in case you thought you missed one. Sales block number 1 was an unworthy sales goal. So we want a sales goal that's worthy of you. That's at least a 2x. We talked about not wanting to be perceived as being pushy. So that might be one you want to listen to again, just to how to shift that belief and how to show up in a way that feels really good, like you're serving your prospect. Sales block number 3, you might be missing your why. Like, why do you do this? Why do you care? What's the impact you can make? Maybe you're stuck at a financial set point and it's time to, bust through that. So that was sales block number 4. You might be stuck at a financial set point. Sales block number 5, you're working with the wrong clients. It's time to say no to those who aren't a good fit and say yes to those who are. Sales block number 6, you have a lack of appointments and follow-up. So putting processes in place to ensure that you get that, the yes, the no, or the next step on the calendar. And then you forget sales block number 7, we forget to ask for the money, right? We don't ask. So again, yes, no, or next step on the calendar. And that next step on the calendar, if you haven't gotten that clear yes, will give you an opportunity to close the sale. All right. Awesome. Well, this has been fun for me to share. I used to do this presentation, the 7 sales blocks that keep you stuck in scarcity, to a lot of sales teams. So I've been wanting to share it again on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, definitely leave us a review wherever you listen, whether it's Apple, whether it's Spotify, all the places that we hang out, iHeartRadio. We'd love to receive a review from you. And a reminder too, like if you're looking to have an incredible next year and you're feeling a little stuck, I want to invite you to a private call with me. You can go to ursulainc.co/apply. You'll fill out some information about yourself and your company, and then we'll reach out and get an appointment booked with you. And I'm doing a handful of these before the end of the year. So if you feel like you would like some extra support before we get into the next year, and you just want to talk through why you might be getting stuck or why you're hitting upper limit blocks, I'd love to support you on that. So, all right, everybody, thanks for listening. That's it for this week, and make this your most epic month yet. Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining us today. And if you are ready to make your next quantum leap, let's do it. Ursula invites you to join us at the 2X Intensive. Go to salescoachnow.com/apply. Don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast app.